Hello, today we are going to install at the same time, side by side, Fedora Linux 41 Beta and Ubuntu 24.10 Oracular Oriole Beta in QEMU virtual machines. So these are the release announcements, September 17th versus September 19th. I have downloaded the ISO file for Fedora Workstation 41 Beta, which is the default ISO, the one with the GNOME desktop, and this is the equivalent from the Ubuntu 24.10, the default desktop ISO. I have downloaded these two ISOs. Now let's create Virt Manager virtual machines. So let's start Virt Manager. Virtual Machine Manager, this is the virtualization software that I use, because I use the Linux operating system Ubuntu 24.04 on my host machine. File, new virtual machine. We'll create the Ubuntu one virtual machine. And this is the ISO. It selects the operating system or the template that's going to be used in order to create the virtual machine. Ubuntu 24.10, correct. Let's go with gigabytes of RAM and 8 vCPU, so 8 CPU threads for the virtual machine. 200 gigabytes for the hard disk, the virtual disk. The only thing that I change, but maybe it's okay if you don't change. Maybe QEMU is smart enough to know that when we say 8 sockets, we in fact want 8 threads and 1 hardware socket inside the virtual machine for the CPU. So the best settings possible for virtual machines for QEMU, which means the fastest possible virtual hard disk, which uses the disk bus VirtIO, the fastest possible network interface card VirtIO. It's going to boot from the CD-ROM, and it's going to have support for USB tablet in the sense that the mouse is not going to be grabbed when I click inside the virtual machine. Okay, this is booting from the ISO file. 30 seconds timeout, try or install Ubuntu, that's what we want, the first option. While that's working, we can start creating the Fedora Linux virtual machine. Let's find the Fedora workstation ISO. It says Fedora. So this was 8, this was 8, this was 200. This is Fedora. Let's make it 41. And the way the virtual machine is created by default is very similar to Ubuntu 24.10. I'm going to do the exact same changes, which is 1 CPU socket and 8 CPU cores. The rest of the settings are already correct. Start Fedora workstation or test the media and then start. Testing the media should be fast, so let's go with the default option, which is the second option here. We're booting from the ISO. It's checking that the ISO is correct by checking that what's inside the CD-ROM drive is correct, which is a nice touch, and it's fast enough. Let's resize the QEMU Virtual Manager windows. Okay, so the Ubuntu 24.10 virtual machine has booted directly inside of the, not sure what this thing is. Maybe it's the OEM experience, maybe it's the installer. Let's go next. Next. Install Ubuntu. Okay, so before the option of running in a live CD mode or starting the installer, you have the graphical user interface wizard, which allows you to select the keyboard layout, which is a nice touch. Other operating systems just boot straight into the desktop in live CD mode, and there's the installer icon on the desktop that you must double click. Okay, let's see where we are in the overview. This is, we're booting it inside the GNOME shell. We go install. And also for Ubuntu, install Ubuntu next. Interactive installation next. Just the essentials. No need for third party. Support for additional media formats. I'm not exactly sure what this does. I have never used this option. Okay, the Fedora installer starts with choosing the language. I want to proceed. It's inside the virtual machine. Nothing is going to get lost. Let's choose the time zone. Okay. Let's see what the Ubuntu installer wants. Do you want to install? Yes, I want to install. Installation destination. We'll keep the defaults as much as possible. Select the devices you'd like to install to. Automatic. Done. So I'm not exactly yeah. I need to click on the done button, although I did not change anything in there. The flow is not as wizard-like as possible when installing Fedora. There's going forward and back and branching and buttons at the bottom right and buttons at the top left. So I've selected everything that could be selected: English, US, time zone, and where to install. Okay. It should have displayed a message box in here saying this is the place of no return. Count. We'll have the virtual machine name be the same as the computer name. So Ubuntu 24.10. This thing and this thing. Next. It's going to use ext4 and one partition for slash. Looks okay. Let's see if we have detailed progress. By clicking on this button, which has the tooltip. What is the tooltip of this button? Maybe buttons don't have tooltips. Okay. Do we have detailed information about the progress in Fedora? So an equivalent to this button. Maybe there is, but I don't know where it is. So now is the part where files from the ISO get copied to the virtual hard disk. So the virtual hard disk is being formatted either with a GPT partition, GUID partition table, which is the modern UEFI alternative, or the MBR partition table, which is the previous partition table. And then various partitions are being created. On Ubuntu, probably 2. On Fedora, I'm not exactly sure how it's going to do it. Probably Fedora uses BTRFS by default, or the /root partition, whereas Ubuntu seems to use ext4. We'll see. Many installers and ISOs that allow you to install Linux operating systems have, during the install, this slideshow. So various slideshows which show the features of the operating system that you're just installing. I don't see any slideshow in Fedora installer. And then there are also installers which allow you to play solitaire or Tetris or a similar game while waiting for you to have the operating system installed. We'll pause a bit. Fedora has finished installing and wants to reboot the computer and stop using the ISO and boot straight into the virtual hard disk. The Ubuntu installer is still doing things. It's installing Grub, the bootloader. Apt-get clean. Okay, so we'll pause a bit until both installers are finished. From what I see, the Ubuntu installer is actually running apt-update and apt-upgrade, so it's installing the newer versions of packages from the online repositories, which is not something that I would want. It should just install whatever is on the ISO file. I know how to update packages. And now both installers have finished. This is the last wizard page of the installer for Fedora 41. This is how it looks like for Ubuntu 24.10. The highlighted button will restart the operating system. It asks that I remove from the DVD drive the DVD. I press enter to continue rebooting. In here, it seems that it doesn't reboot automatically, so I'm going to reboot myself. Restart. Yeah, it's not that obvious what's happening. You're on the last wizard page of the installer in Fedora 41. You press the highlighted button and the computer doesn't restart. You're still in live CD mode. So that's not great. Okay, the user account has been created for Ubuntu. I have provided username and password during the installer. This is a first run wizard in Fedora 41. Sure what this thing does. Third-party repositories. Enable. Next. And now it's going to create the user. Enterprise login says in Fedora, in Ubuntu it said Active Directory. Start using Fedora Linux. Welcome to Fedora Linux 41. So this is the GNOME shell overview. Let's take the tour. Let's log in as the user administrator in Ubuntu. A first run wizard inside the after we have logged in graphically as the administrator user. Complete your setup. So there's minimize, maximize, close buttons in the window title bar. Share system data. Okay. Get started with more applications. Open App Center. This is the application store, App Store. Where were we? So this is the App Center application, and we're inside the Welcome to Ubuntu First Run Wizard. And this is it. The First Run Wizard has finished. Let's see in here what's this about. Fedora Linux 41 Workstation Edition pre-release. So in Fedora, they use a ton of different strings for branding. Sometimes it's Fedora, sometimes it's Fedora Linux, sometimes it's Fedora Linux 41, sometimes it's Workstation, sometimes it's not. In this case, it's also pre-release with an uppercase P instead of beta. Get an overview, press the Windows key. Start typing in the overview. Workspaces. I have never used workspaces. Workspaces in the sense of virtual desktops. Swipe up and down. Swipe left and right with 3 fingers. And that's it. Okay. And we're at the default desktop experience of the two operating systems. This is Ubuntu 24.10. This is Fedora 41, fresh clean installations. The same bar at the top. Ubuntu comes with these handy extra additions to the vanilla GNOME shell experience. So the left sidebar with the applications which are pinned and the applications which are running. So currently we have running the App Center that we have started from the Welcome Center, and Firefox web browser also started from the Welcome Center. Icons on the desktop, and this button for the start menu. This is how we get to the overview using this page, this button at the top left corner, which respects Fitts law, or maybe not. Let's see where is. Yeah, it does. So clicking on the extreme bottom left will open the overview, where you have workspaces or virtual desktops and search, and a panel with pinned apps and the start menu. Okay, the size of icons in the start menu is different. There's groups of applications. I have told the Ubuntu installer to not install many additional applications, so there's no LibreOffice. Whereas in Firefox, in Fedora, there was no option to not install all of the default applications that come in the ISO. That's why we also have boxes and LibreOffice and Fedora Media Writer. The icon theme is different. Fedora tries to be as close to the upstream as possible to ship applications in their vanilla form, the way that the developers have intended. So I'm going to guess that this is the default icon for the GNOME terminal, not this one, or for the settings, not this one. But who knows, maybe even the terminal applications are different. So one is Christian Hergert's terminal, the application with a strange name. Whereas this one is the classic GNOME terminal. The same terminal that has been in use in Ubuntu for the last 20 years. Whereas this is Tyxis, what's the name of the application? Tyxis. Yes. So maybe that's why the icons are different, for the terminal at least. Where's the icon for the text editor? I'm not sure why the text editor doesn't appear directly in here. Where is the text editor? It's somewhere in here, but I cannot find it. Maybe not all applications appear here by default. At least the search works correctly. The same icon for the text editor. The application looks the same. Different icons, so different icon themes. So this is GNOME text editor. What application is this one? It's not gedit, which I would expect to be in here. So it's another new application from Christian Hergert. Okay. It's strange that I can see that Ubuntu by default uses a different icon theme where the GNOME community totally does not like when downstream Linux distributions change the theming of their applications, including changing the icon themes or the GTK widget theme. This settings button versus this settings button. Different font sizes by default. Let's look at the font settings. How do we get to those font? Again, different icons. This is just the font list, totally not what you would want. You would never want to look at a list of fonts. When you search in here for fonts, you want the settings for fonts to be the first thing that's displayed. Yeah, probably the text font can only be changed through the GNOME theme, tweaks application. Let's try to install the GNOME tweaks application if it's not already installed using only graphical user interface tools. So let's see if it's already installed. GNOME tweaks, this thing. An app store is started. Asks me if I want to install from Fedora Linux RPMs, which is the default installation method. I go yes. Let's do the same thing. No results. So probably the integration with the default GNOME App Store is not that great. Let's see this App Store. GNOME tweaks. And it says something about Debian packages. So I'm going to think that it will be installed from deb packages, which is the default installation method for Ubuntu. The other default installation method would be snap packages. So hopefully it's from a deb package. I'm not sure where it says that it's a deb or a snap. Something's wrong with the screenshots. So it knows the number of screenshots and their names, but except the penultimate screenshot, the other ones are missing. Oh, they started appearing after a while. So it was a refresh issue. Changing the font of the desktop is totally not an advanced option. It's a non-advanced option. Let's go install. Why does it require authentication, whereas Fedora did not require authentication? What's the best option? Okay, how do I run the application? Where's the button in Ubuntu App Center for starting the application that I have just installed? Not exactly sure. I don't see it anywhere in here. Extension has moved. Not sure what that thing was. And the very first thing is fonts. Okay, let's start this application GNOME tweaks. Where can we find it? I don't see it in here. Let's search in here. Tweaks. So in the list of applications, okay, so Tweaks is hidden in the utilities group in the list of applications. Okay, this is Tweaks minimized. Let's go to fonts. So the fonts should be Noto, whereas they're Cantarell and Source Code Pro. I'm not sure if the information shown in here is correct. How do we change these things? So Noto totally is installed. Maybe not all of the families inside of the Noto font packages. Cancel. Whoa, scrolling is really strange if you move the scroll bar. So left click on the scroll bar, move the scroll bar a bit, and things dance a lot. Or the scroll bar gets stuck or something. Okay. Hinting is on by default, which is great. And subpixel anti-aliasing is on for Ubuntu. I'm not sure how they split the hinting and anti-aliasing. So I want subpixel, this thing, and hinting is probably the same thing, so let's go with full. let's have the fonts as Windows style, as Windows operating system style as possible. So they use subpixels and are as dark and bold as possible. Appearance, what does appearance do? So as expected, Fedora uses an experience that's as vanilla as possible. The default themes for the applications and the GNOME desktop, the default cursor theme, icon theme, whereas Ubuntu uses the Yaru cursor theme, Yaru icons, and Yaru system sounds. Max input. What thing? Middle click title bar to lower the window. Okay, and the title bar buttons are enabled by default on Windows, on enterprise operating systems, on Ubuntu, minimize and maximize, whereas they're not because that's the upstream wish. That's what the GNOME community wants. So not having the minimize and restore maximize buttons is what the upstream GNOME desktop wants the default experience to be. But you can enable them in here. Applications are rounded by default when they're not maximized. The application border is not exactly clear where it is, but it's in here. There's shadow behind the application. You can resize via all of the corners as you would expect. The cursor theme is totally different. This is how resizing by the corner looks like in GNOME and in Fedora, and this is how it looks like in the Yaru theme in Ubuntu. So this is two arrows, whereas this one is an arrow and a corner. This is an arrow and a side, and this is two arrows. I'm not sure why there's no tooltip over the close button this time. I have seen this tooltip before. Maybe I'm wrong. There should be tooltips in here. When I hover over the minimize button, it should say minimize. And the default arrow theme of the cursor is also different. The one in Ubuntu has a shorter stem. So we have tooltips for the other options except the three window buttons. Minimize, maximize. I'm not sure what's happening there. Tooltips are a must-have for icon-only button. So this is an icon-only button, should have a tooltip. This is an icon, only button should have a tooltip. The same for this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Let's use the default app stores to install a KDE application, and let's look at it. So let's close the app. This window should have been brought to the front when I right click and close. This looks like a bug. When I right click and I go quit, it actually goes Alt F4 on this modal window. So it closes the modal window instead of just bringing the window to the front. So this is totally not okay. So the App Store is maximized, but when I right click on the text editor, it should bring it to the front and it should show this modal dialog. Okay. So let's open the app stores. How do we do that? I search for app and it shows the software application, which I know that is the app store in GNOME Shell and in Fedora. So let's click on it. Let's search in here for app. And the application is not GNOME's App Store, but Ubuntu App Center. Okay, let's see how we do search in here. There's a search button. Let's search for Kate. It finds it. I click on the application. Kate. And in here I can already see the separation between snap packages and Debian packages, which is great. Let's select just Debian packages. And we want this guy. Okay. We don't want from Flatpak. We don't want from Flatpak Fedora. We don't want from Flatpak FlatHub. This Flatpak Fedora should be disabled by default. This should be enabled by default, but this should be the default. So this should not exist. This should be the first option and this the second. Install from Fedora Linux. Okay, install. I'm not sure why the screenshots appear after a while in the Ubuntu App Center. While I'm still inside of this application, while this application is still visible, the screenshots should be downloaded in the background, and then when they become available, the placeholder image should be replaced with the screenshot that has just been downloaded. Otherwise, in here, there's just white space, useless white space. And in here, there's also useless white space. And it's not really clear that you can scroll. Okay, let's install. So I'm an administrative user. I'm a sudoer, yet the App Center is requesting the sudo password each time the sudo expires or I start the application. Hopefully, if I install another application within 20 seconds, it doesn't ask for the sudo password again. I'm not sure what's doing in here. Would be nice to see a progress. or the list of packages that's going to be installed, the size that's going to be used. Kate should have a subtitle, not just the title. Yeah, it should say that it's created by the KD community. At least the icon is okay and the application name. Okay, GNOME software application is better in this regard, so it shows the correct screenshots. It shows a bit more details about the application. It allows me to open the application. It allows me to select which source of remote packages do I want to use. It uses the information that's inside the upstream metadata. Similar applications. Oh. Okay, so I'm not sure what's the deal here. Let's open it. Again, there's no open button in the Ubuntu App Center, which is a pity. What's happening if I search? So press the super key, the Windows key, locate, and press enter. Something starts, but I'm not sure exactly what's being started here. Wow, it offers me to install the application again, which is very strange. If it's already installed from Fedora Linux RPM, so why would you offer to install the application again from the source, which I totally do not want to exist by default, which is the Fedora Flatpak repository. It should say that it's already installed, no matter the source, and then if you change the source, yeah, you can install from the additional source. So I've clicked on the open button, doesn't seem to do anything. Or maybe I don't know how to switch applications in here. So this looks like a bug. The application kit should advertise via the upstream metadata file what's the name of the executable, and then that thing should be started when I click the open button. But if the application is elevated, then if the GNOME software App Store is elevated, Kate should not start elevated as the user root. So from what I see, the open button does not work, at least in this case, for Kate. So let's start it from here. Let's see that it appears in the list of installed applications. It's in here. Why the list is not sorted, ascending, alphabetically, I don't know. So the application refuses to start, that's why it couldn't be started. Let's see what's the matter. Terminal. Kate. Okay, so this is a bug in packaging. one of the RPMs is wrong in here, or either Kate or K icon themes, the KD framework version 6 RPM. Okay. Whereas in Ubuntu, Kate does start, but something is not okay. There's no, not the application borders that I would expect. It's not rounded. Can I resize? Yes, at least I can resize the window. So there's no, so this thing, the rounded corners, doesn't look like what's available for Kate. So Kate is a second-class citizen here. I'm not sure what this theme is. This is not the theme that should be used. I'm not sure why it shows the accelerators under the main menu. This shouldn't not be a default option. At least it's showing icons. So it does use the breeze icons, which is what we would expect, the icons that the KD community wants, that Kate always uses, at least by default. So that's a big plus. But the theming is not okay. The scroll bar doesn't look as it should. This theming for Qt widgets doesn't look as it should. The boldness in here is wrong. It should not be bold. The fonts are huge. Let's see if we can install the Breeze theme for Qt widgets. And maybe that fixes the issue. So let's go search for terminal, press enter, become super user, update, make sure the metadata about packages is up to date. It's using the wrong repository for packages. How do we change that? Software properties, GTK. I have started this thing as root. Who knows if it will work or not? Maybe not. It's a graphical user interface application, which I cannot close. Okay, main server. So Canonical supported free and open source, which is main. Community universe, restricted multiverse, no source code. Backports. I always disable automatic updates. When there are security updates, don't do anything. Okay. Authentication drivers developer. Sounds okay. It's going to do apt update, so get the latest metadata about the repositories that have been enabled. Or not. Error could not open file. Well, that's a bug. Let's run apt update ourselves. So at least it has edited the list of package repositories that are enabled in the system. So it changed from the local archive to the main archive. Wants to update the Linux kernel, which actually requires a reboot. So it should have said, please reboot in order to use the newer Linux kernel that you have just installed. So that's a bug in there. Let's search for the Breeze. Breeze Oracular. Breeze GTK theme, Breeze icon theme, KD style Breeze. So there's a KF6 Breeze icon theme and the libkf6 Breeze icons 6. I'm totally lost in here. I would guess this guy. Let's search. Ubuntu packages search Breeze. Package Breeze in 2404. Breeze in Oracular. This guy. So Breeze will pull in Breeze cursor theme, KD style Breeze, KF6 Breeze icon theme, KWin style Breeze. Oh, a ton of things. And the Qt theme is actually where? The Qt widgets theme. This guy. Okay. So let's install the Breeze meta package, which will pull a ton of things. Not only the Qt widgets theme, but also the icon theme, the cursor theme, whatever. The KWin window manager decoration, although we do not use KWin yet. Install Breeze. This summary is interesting, the multi-column one, using 3 columns to say the other lib packages that are going to be installed automatically. Although I have requested that Breeze be installed, all of these are also installed because they're dependencies of the Breeze lib package. Okay, let's reopen Kate. So the window manager behavior for Kate was wrong. By default, it has shown a window which is not on top of other windows like this. Because there's no shadow, you would think that this is part of this application, part of Firefox. You would think that, I know, it's a screenshot in Firefox or something. So the window manager experience that's offered to KD and Qt applications is wrong, which is either a bug in Ubuntu 24.10 or in GNOME Shell in general. Once I've installed Breeze, Breeze became the default theme. I can see different scroll bars, different button styles, different tab style. And in Configure Kate, it's a totally different thing. So these texts are not bold anymore. They're still huge because that's how fonts are set in GNOME Twix. Correct scroll bar, correct theming. The accent color of the theming is not what the upstream wants. So this orange thing is probably a slight touch that Ubuntu does to the default Breeze theme to make it more Ubuntu-y. Okay, so the application has improved a ton by installing just one package and its dependencies, the Breeze one. But still, the window manager experience is not okay. Double clicking on the title bar does not unmaximize it, which is a bug. Double clicking on the title bar does not maximize it, which is a bug. Snapping to half of the screen works correctly. Snapping to a quarter of the screen works correctly. Snapping to the entire screen works correctly. Half of the screen works. So it says that, oh, first it goes full screen, whatever, maximized, and then top half of the screen. So you need to be very careful when you're releasing the mouse. You need to move fast. Otherwise, it will only make it use half of the top half of the screen when you actually want it to maximize the window. So I have seen that setting in GNOME Twix. Title bar actions, double click, toggle maximize. What, toggle maximize? Yes, toggle maximize. So in here it works because it's not a KD application. But for KD applications, it does not work. So this is probably a CSD, client-side decoration. and this is probably a SSD server-side decoration. And server-side decorations seem to be second-class citizens in the GNOME desktop or in Ubuntu 24.10. Okay, so this is it. This is how you install the fresh releases of Ubuntu 24.10 Auricular Oriole Beta and Fedora Linux 41 Beta. Thank you.